Hey guys, it's Brandon Miniman from PocketNow.com, and this is another PocketNow throwback with the Samsung Omnia 2. Let's get to it. So previously, we did a throwback with the HTC Touch Diamond because the Touch Diamond was, and sort of still is, a very important device in defining smartphone history. It really brought to the forefront touch-friendly interfaces that were previously characterized by stylus input. The iPhone came around, it changed everything, it showed the world that you don't need a stylus to operate a phone. We started to see a shift away from the stylus into touch-friendly operation. So this came out in about June 2008, and then the Omnia 2 came out about a year later in June 2009. Then the Verizon version hit in about December 2009, which is funny to think that just about 3 months ago or so, when it was December 2010, this device, which you're going to see feels very old, had come out just 1 year before. Kind of amazing. So this device was very important because it showed off the best that Samsung had to offer in the smartphone area. This is before they had the Galaxy S smartphones. This is before they really got into Android. And so they put their best effort forward to customize this interface to do some interesting things with Windows Mobile. So let's talk about the device and sort of the characteristics of it. We've got an AMOLED screen here. Of course, Samsung has been leading the pack in doing Super AMOLED and Super AMOLED Plus. And it started with the Omnia here when they did the AMOLED screen, which was just beautiful in comparison to the standard LCD we were seeing on other devices. So the resolution is 800 down by 480 across. It's a resistive touchscreen, of course. So again, if we tilt it in the light just right, you can actually see the screen press in. Let's see if we can get it. There we go. You can kind of see it's a little bit mushy, so it's not as sensitive as a capacitive screen. Inside, we've got an 800 megahertz processor with 256 megabytes of RAM. That was actually pretty impressive. Back in 2009, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 1 gigahertz didn't make it to the scene yet, and so 800 megahertz was fast for a smartphone. Now, when we reviewed this phone, we reviewed both the Verizon version here and also the European version. We thought it was pretty thin. But wow, taking it out of the box, this thing is a tank. In fact, let's compare it to one of Samsung's thinnest devices, the Captivate. Wow, it almost seems 2 times as thick. It's quite remarkable. Let's go around the hardware here. We've got a strangely placed 3.5mm headphone jack on the left side of the device. We've got a volume up and down rocker. This looks to be a dedicated OK button. Of course, Windows Mobile allows you to program various buttons. On the bottom, we have a microphone. On this side, we have a dual-action camera button with a lock button that would lock the screen, plus a port for micro USB, which is great. Samsung started to move away from the mini USB to the micro USB. Also on the front, we've got these buttons that are very reminiscent of the first Omnia. The first Omnia was a huge seller that you might remember, the Samsung Omnia. And we've also got a proximity sensor and a light sensor there at the top. And on the back, we have this really cool red design, which was different from the European version. They kind of spruced this up a little bit when they brought it to the US. Got a 5 megapixel camera, can do 420p video, or actually 480p. Sort of, they call it DVD quality, not really HD. Plus a flash, which was pretty unique for a device like this. If we pop off the back battery cover, we will get, if we can take it off here, we will see the micro SD port there, so you can put some expandable memory in there. So let's turn on the Omnia 2 and talk about the software offering that they offered here. So I'm going to press the lock device, or the lock button here. We're going to do a slide to unlock, and this is one of the first Windows Mobile phones to do a sort of unlock mechanism like this, and I'm not even sure how this works. Touch to unlock. Okay, there. So now Samsung, what they tried to do here is emulate Android a little bit, and it's kind of funny how poorly the execution was carried out. So we've got multiple home screens here, and of course Windows Mobile wasn't really intended to have multiple home screens. You know, we have TouchFlow 3D, which sort of brings that idea to the table, but in a totally different way. Windows Mobile had the Today screen, which was just a screen with information, your next appointment. So HTC innovated on the Today screen, and so did Samsung, although Samsung did sort of a poor job at it in terms of performance. Here's the lock screen again. There we go. So what we have here are 3 home screens. It's really choppy to move between them. And the phone's not even responsive. It seems that there's a delay after doing everything, as you can see here. That has to do with probably the processor, the software, and the sensitivity of the screen. But it was cool to see how we could actually add widgets. And by the way, I'm going to use my finger for all the input, because the stylus that came with the Omnia was a little appendage that you had to dangle off the edge of the little lanyard loop. So here we can add a variety of widgets, and let's go through these and see. We have the widget manager, we have the time, you can slide these over. Again, this was really cool back in the day to be able to add these widgets and customize your home screens, but now of course we have Android, which lets you do that to a very full extent. Going down, we have shortcuts, new message, music player, Bing. Early days of Bing there, Weatherbug, MySpace, Facebook. So I mean, what you could do here is take them, drag them, and maybe even slide them to other screens. You couldn't even do that actually. You would have to slide over to another screen, like so, open up the app drawer again, slide it over, and land it on the home screen. So here we've got what looks to be a little gallery, so you can flip through pictures, and so on and so forth. So this interface was kind of clunky, not that usable. There weren't that many good widgets, and there was the promise that developers, third-party developers, could add their own widgets. They never really did. Okay, so let's talk more about what we have here. Here is the Cube, and this is where Samsung probably went to a conference room and said, let's do something awesome with the graphics, but hey, if it's not usable, that's okay. This Cube thing is indeed cool, and it shows off the processor and the GPU well, but it's totally unusable. Why would you ever want to use this Cube? In our testing of this phone, we found this to be the most useless thing imaginable, because no one's going to take the time to go into this Cube thing, spin around a 3D looking figure just to land on one of these things randomly, only to open it. It might not even be the thing you want to open. So again, this is sort of like a task switcher. If we tap on the globe, it spins around and we get some shortcuts, some cover flow of websites, right? I mean, this is not the most efficient workflow if you're using your phone. So that was the Cube. Now, if we went into the Start menu, and by the way, this is running Windows Mobile 6.5, we've got Samsung's sort of customized menu system here. So again, we can swipe, and once again, when you swipe, there's a delay. Swipe, it moves. Swipe, it moves. It's not instant like phones of today. And we've got a lot of applications here. Let's go into the web and see what it was like. They included the Opera browser because, of course, Pocket Internet Explorer just didn't cut it. And because, again, this is a resistive touchscreen, you're not going to be able to pinch to zoom or do any of those fancy things that you can on phones of today. So let's see. We're going to try to enter an address here. We get swipe on the screen, which is a nice keyboard. A little bit difficult to use on a resistive screen because you got to apply a little bit more pressure than usual. So here Pocket Now is going to load. This has an accelerometer so we can jump into landscape eventually. And so it's going to load up. We're over Wi-Fi right now, and we'll see how it does. So we're going to stop it right there. It's been about 45 seconds. I cut back in on the video here, and it's going to finish loading. So let's move around on the page, see what scrolling is like. Not too bad, actually. We get some checkerboards there. It's trying to reload certain elements of the page. But I mean, this was pretty good web browsing for the day, and although you can't really see it on the video, the Super AMOLED screen looks pretty darn good. It's not even close to a Super AMOLED that Samsung has today, but compared to the LCDs of 2009, the AMOLED was definitely something to write home about. So let's go back to the main screens here, and this should actually work in landscape. Let's see. No, it doesn't work in landscape. Okay, so let's see what happens when we press this button. That should just take us to our program list. And so we can, again, swipe side to side. There are some things down here, like the task switcher. So Windows Mobile could multitask, right? But they wanted to add a new interface for multitasking. Sort of these live previews. Let me show you how that works. If we open up another program, let's say we open up Bing. Let's go back to the program list, alarms, and let's open up something else, My Files. Okay, and now we'll go back to the task switcher. We should see a bunch of programs open. There we go with live previews. This was really cool. And then you can kind of switch between your programs from there. You get this animation. I mean, this was, again, really cool stuff for the day. And then we can go down here to edit. We can rearrange the items in the program list. It's very customizable, very cool. This is how you access settings, and then you get this interesting sort of almost Motorola Zoom-like honeycomb interface with blue and sort of the fluorescent look. And from here, we can change all of the settings on the phone. Most people couldn't tell that this was legacy Windows Mobile. I mean, Samsung skinned this so heavily that it became unrecognizable. Let's see what else we have in here. So we have the Microsoft Office Suite, File Explorer. You get the point. So to wrap things up, Samsung is really on the cutting edge of UI design back in 2009. They were competing with HTC to try to make an awesome interface before they really had adopted Android. And they used Windows Mobile as their platform. And even though Windows Mobile is relatively restricted in what you can do at the end of the day, they skinned the heck out of it to make it look like almost Android looks today in a lot of ways, which is really commendable and very interesting to see. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you want to see more Pocket Now throwbacks, and give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Thanks for watching, and that's it for now.